Wynand, kia ora, welcome to the program.
Kia ora. Good morning, Andrew.
I know for some couples, joy is an aspirational goal rather than a daily reality. And perhaps we go through seasons and cycles, but surely it's still the goal, right?
Well, that's the thing. Our brains are actually hardwired to operate best when it's fueled by joy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds idealistic, but this is actually some cutting edge brain science.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not the brain scientist here, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the work that so I actually recently interviewed Dr. Marcus Warner on his book, The 4 Habits of Joy-Filled Marriages.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually would suggest that we form a certain way of being together. It can either be our attachment can be based on fear or it can be based on joy.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can obviously imagine, the strongest attachments, the best marriages run and operate on joy. But what happens when joy isn't our daily experience of marriage?
Yeah.
Sure, there's moments where we experience joy together, and joy can, in loose terms, be defined as glad to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And let me give you an example. And I can almost tell. And here's another thing about joy, it's contagious. So I'm going to tell you a brief story, and I'm going to be paying attention to your face.
Okay.
Because our 2 kids, they're growing up way too quickly. It's felt like a long time in those early days. But Gabriella's 3 now, and she's just the cutest little thing, and she's getting more and more personality. And the other morning, I was just up early, and I was just downstairs in the dining room, and she came in, and she was being all playful, and she was just smiling at me, and her eyes were just beaming, and it's that happy to see you. And
Yeah.
the more she smiled, the more I smiled, and she started smiling more, and you could just see that eyes light up. Now, what happened to you just there, Andrew?
Mm.
What I shared with you
Oh,
now was
exactly.
a typical example of a joy story.
Yeah.
But I could see your face light up
Yeah.
just as I told that story.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. It takes you to that place where you remember what it was like to be, as you come home to small children, they're happy to see you. That is such a fundamental feeling. It sits deep within the soul, doesn't it?
That's right. And that is the best brain fuel, the best motivation, the best way to create a strong relationship is to build moments of joy together. Now, in his book, he's put together like a framework and also like a bunch of exercises that you can do. We won't go into those today,
Yeah.
but people can check that out on the 4 Habits of Joyful Marriages. That's the title of his book. But they talk about this concept of the joy gap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the joy gap is simply the length of time between shared moments of joy in your marriage.
Yeah.
And so the theory goes, the bigger the joy gap, obviously the less connected you feel to one another in marriage.
Wow.
And so then you can actually change the way you feel in your relationship, how connected you feel about your partner and how positive you actually feel towards your partner by just increasing the moments of shared joy you have together. But one of the things Dr. Warner says that I actually quite like is that life can get busy, marriage can get busy, and if you have kids, it's all about managing schedules and everything. And before you know it, the bedroom becomes the boardroom.
Yeah.
And life can become very mechanical and about all our responsibilities and the things we want to do. But it's actually not that difficult to build joy and build strength back into your marriage. You just actually need to be intentional about shortening that joy gap.
Yeah, I mean that's so important, isn't it? That as I was saying, Valentine's weekend beforehand, and hey, perhaps for a whole bunch of couples, that was their opportunity to refill their joy tanks, to reconnect as a couple. But let's not wait till next Valentine's Day to do that again, right? We've got to be intentional at finding those joy moments more regularly. And look, if we're not going to find them because of the busyness of life, we need to schedule them.
That's right. And sometimes it really doesn't have to be complicated. Like, yes, you could take a weekend away, do something, for example, like our weekend remember
Yep.
with input and time away to just focus on the two of you, that's great. Do that if you can. Yes, you can go on a date night, organize babysitters, and go through the practice of doing that regularly. I encourage that. But what if you can just take 15 minutes a day of being intentional, just saying, hey, let's just do something that we enjoy doing together.
Yeah.
Like for us, this holiday, we picked up a new hobby. We recently shifted a house and into the new studio setup here behind me, office setup. But we recently shifted house, and now we actually live quite close to a nice little cycleway, with a lot of nature. And so this holiday, we actually invested in some, not a massive investment, but an investment nonetheless. We just, very simple. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but we just bought some bikes, for us as a family.
Yeah.
So now we actually go on a ride together. And it's been one of the easy ways to actually build more joy into our family rhythm.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. It doesn't have to be a huge amount of planning behind it. But what is that one or two things you can just add to your daily rhythm to increase the levels of joy and shrink your joy gap in your marriage?
No, such wonderful practical advice. And as you say, that may be different for different people. Have a discussion about, hey, what brings you joy? Let's intentionally make that a part of our regular daily living. Hey, let's unpack this idea of decreasing the joy gap over the next few weeks. But in the meantime, check out the details, whether it be a weekend to remember or perhaps your recent conversation on this topic, available at familylife.nz. Wynand, thank you for what you do. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Great to be on. Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.